With that being said, we look over to our Seattle Sounders here, who also return home. But before they do that, they're on the road against LAFC. And I think we talked about it last week. LA is one of the best clubs, probably the best club in MLS. Seattle went on the road, though. They got the first goal against LAFC. They were able to force an own goal. But there was a stretch of time right before halftime where LA took advantage of some Seattle miscues. And those two goals, Seattle wasn't able to respond. I mean, they held LA to no goals in the second half, but that period of time, really, you look back and say, this is really where they won it. So Seattle falls 2-1 to LA. Player of the game midfielder Nico Ladero. Nico has a 7.7 match rating, a 75% passing percentage, 5 chances created, but only 1 total shot. So, I mean, this is a tough game. You know, you don't have a Raul Ruidiaz. You Kellen Rose on red card suspension. You're playing the best club in the league, and you are still trying to find yourself again. You know, so it's tough, but it's also like, hey, you lost to LA. You don't like doing that. They have a great atmosphere down there. At the end of the day, it's the Sounders are looking for their form again. You know, I know we've got comments under. I was unsure. I didn't want to say they'd found their form again following CCL. There were some periods of time where they were doing well. Of course they found their form. They won this. I'm like,
have they?
We've got a long season. And you see them, they kind of sputtered. They beat the Rapids, yes, which is great. But, you know, LA, this one a little bit less. I'll give them more slack because it's the best team in the league. They added Chiellini and Gareth Bale. But it's still, you know, you've got to find, you're the Seattle Sounders. You hold yourself to a higher standard, and, you know, you're still battling. Every point matters. So if you had drawn this game, you still would have gotten 1 point, and you would have inched closer back to a playoff spot. You're, I believe, 2 points out of a playoff spot right now. So you see how much even splitting points is important to you right now. You don't have to make up leaps and bounds, but you got to make these. You got to pick up points eventually. You can't keep dropping them. So tough, but nothing we can do about it right now. In terms of injury-related news, on the 28th, the injury report against LA, obviously, João Paulo and Obed Vargas are out with season-ending injuries. Kellen Rowe, red card suspension, was out. And then Raul Ruidiaz was questionable. I don't believe he actually suited for that game, though. With that being said, we learned today that Raul will feature Tuesday. He'll be available, but is unsure if he's going to start or come off the bench. And this is, again, just like with Julio and Ty France and those injuries, we want to play it safe, because I know Raul's had his respective leg injuries, or I think it's just hamstring mostly, but you got to be careful with it, because I'd rather have Raul for a playoff stretch than, you know, a game here and there. So, I mean, obviously still important, but we'll keep an eye on that. And team-related notes, on the first, the Sounders were valued at $705 million, the 4th highest club in MLS. Looking ahead, their record sits at 9 wins, 11 losses, and 2 draws. They are 9th in the Western Conference at 29 points, as I mentioned, 2 points out of a playoff spot. They play a key team this Tuesday at home in FC Dallas. August 2nd versus FC Dallas is a 7 p.m. kick. Dallas is 4th in the West, so you're playing against one of the teams that you're looking up at.
Right.
So you'd like to take care of that. And then after that game on Tuesday the 2nd, you play August 6th at Atlanta United, and often Atlanta is one of those teams that they're tough to play against. They've been one of the teams that have been most consistent in the Eastern Conference for success. They're near the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference, but you play them on the road with a noon kickoff PST. So I know I can tell you that they're bad, but it doesn't matter unless you make them look bad, right? You have to still play the game. You have to get the points. So important matchups there for our Sounders, who look to crawl their way back into a playoff spot.